Good morning, or almost noon. I don't usually send out two of these videos a week, but there are a few things I want to comment on, and I think this may be the best way to do it. I'll try to keep it short, but I think this is important stuff. Tolerate me. First, let me say again how meaningful your discussion about Beckett was or is. My, what great insights and thoughtful observations. It's always amazing to me how great literature about great persons can bring out such great insight. As I said just a few minutes ago in response to one of the written comments in the discussion, living honestly and morally in a world that more often than not seems to reward the opposite is frighteningly challenging, but no less essential. I don't want to even ever minimize the struggle and the pain, whether that pain is emotional or physical or spiritual, of living life with integrity. Sad to have to make that kind of a statement, but nonetheless, it's true. Thanks again for your insights. I look forward to continuing this discussion as we all engage Romero, another person struggling to live faithfully in a world that tends to honor faithlessness more. Second, regarding Let Your Life Speak, so happy that you have found this book to be a helpful and challenging read. I love this book. I've read it I don't know how many times now, and every time I engage it, either on my own or with you, I am challenged to rethink some important part of my life. More often than not, that challenge comes from you as you work to understand and wonder about what he's saying in the context of your own life journey. I do want to say something about Palmer's use of the word vocation, a word that we more often than not take as synonymous with occupation or work or job. Vocation, as Palmer uses the word, and really this is its more classical meaning, is about calling. It's about vocatio, an actual voiced calling. It is more about destiny and giftedness than it is about work readiness. Some of you have wondered about this, and I've responded in writing to a couple of you, but let me attempt to clarify this for you all. Vocation is about meaning and purpose and how one is positioned in the world as a result of his or her gifts and passions. Your vocation and your job may be the same. It is for me. I'm called to be a teacher, and I have made my living largely as an educator. A happy marriage of calling and work for me. But it's not always this way. Sometimes our work is what makes it possible for us to live out our vocation. As I said to one of you, a barista at Starbucks might be a calling. Yeah, it could be a vocation, sort of like a bartender might be. But it might also be the means by which you earn what you need to live out a vocation that would not sustain you economically. Maybe, for example, your calling is to be a big brother or big sister and make a difference in the lives of one kid at a time. No real money in that, right? For the most part. But a barista job would not only pay your way to fulfill your vocation, but it actually provides you the time and flexibility that you need to perform that mentoring role effectively. I hope that helps. Third, a couple of you raised the question of the cost of following vocation. Well, take a look at all three of our characters, Beckett, Romero, and Frodo. Yes, vocation can be costly as taking your life, or nearly so. But what would the cost be of not following your vocation? What would the outcome have been if all three of those had walked away from their vocation? It is a question of cost, yes, but not necessarily a question of financial cost. What about the cost of not fulfilling your calling Or what about the other rewards that came of not living up? What about the other rewards that came with living out of your vocation, that sense of fulfillment and meaning and purpose that is so important to our sense of well-being? Let me tell you a little story about myself. In 1994, I experienced what I took to be a call to ministry, to pastoral ministry, and decided to pursue a graduate degree in seminary. I shared this sense of call with others and was affirmed in that call by others, but no one put me through a clearing process the way Palmer went through it. No one questioned me. Everybody simply affirmed me. Not very long after I entered seminary, I knew I'd made a mistake. I so deeply missed the classroom. That, after all, was my calling. Now, this move was a costly move for us on many levels: financial, familial, work. When I woke up to this reality and began to think about what direction I needed to go in response to my sense of giftedness and calling, it led me back to the classroom. It actually led me back to Warner Pacific College. In a sense, it led me right back to this video I'm recording for you right now. And fulfillment. Yet it was costly, yes, but it was also enriching, powerfully enriching. I don't regret that move. I learned much from that move about who I am and how I live in the world, and the importance of living out of one's giftedness and into one's vocation. I learned much, and I made friends, relationships that have literally changed my life and continue to be part of my life today. So on the one hand, I wish I had not had to learn the hard way. On the other hand, the hard way was a deeply life-changing way and opened up many, many, many other opportunities and friends that enriched my life. I hope that helps you think a little bit about your own journey, your own sense of calling, in light of Palmer's wonderful little book, Let Your Life Speak. And finally, just a reminder, I don't know if I warned you about this at the beginning, but by now, if you've been looking at your papers, you know this. You are stuck with an English teacher, and I do correct your papers. I do hope you'll pay attention to the corrections and comments that I put there. I don't do that for my benefit. I do that for your benefit. I hope it will help you learn to be, and many of you are very effective writers, and I hope it will help you all become more effective writers. Speaking of those essays, first, great work. Keep the level of thoughtfulness and insight going in this class. Will be such a rich experience for you and for me as well. Also, on personal reflection papers, this is just a word that you can ignore. You do not need to do all the formal APA stuff on these reflection papers like title pages and abstracts. You may, of course, if you're in that groove and that's how you want to work, just go right ahead and do that. We're not wasting paper because it's all electronic, but you do not have to. Just make sure that you cite references that you use, even if they're Palmer or other resources in the class or things that you might bring in from out of the class. And please put your name on your paper. I recommend that you do that up in the header so that I can keep things together just in case. Okay, so when I download your paper, please make sure your name is on your paper and not just on the email or the Moodle entry that you sent. Don't assume that I'm going to know who wrote what, and I'm going to have to go back and figure that out. So it's just a convenience, courtesy for me, please. Thank you. Well, enough. Good work, you all. Keep it up, and I'll be in touch. Blessings.